Hello, welcome back, my Royal Rogues. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the Royal Rogue. And tonight we have the first kiss between Frederik and Mary as King and Queen of Denmark. Just through that, as you can see right here, it can be a bit confusing or even embarrassing. I suggest that before we jump into the analysis, you pause my video, write your impression in the comments. What do you see in this kiss? Does it look genuine or forced to you? And then you can compare with my observations. Of course, I always say that you need to go to the source. And in this case, I went for the highest resolution possible of Frederick being proclaimed as king on the balcony of Christianborg Castle by Denmark's prime minister after Queen Margaret signed the declaration of her abdication. Now, it is easy to imagine that this is the exact moment that everyone is talking about. When at first sight, it looks like Frederick is going in to kiss Mary and she turns away to avoid kissing him. And you can remember that those compromising pictures that the Spanish tabloids took of King Frederick with a woman in Madrid a few months ago certainly don't help. So everybody wants to really know what happened here. And for that, we need to start with what happened right before that apparent snub. Of course, the most telling part of our bodies is our faces. And if you have been watching my videos for some time, you already have quite some experience knowing how to spot fake and genuine smiles. We not only smile with our mouths, but our eyes are also quite expressive when our smiles are real. This is just a couple seconds before the kiss when they are looking at each other and you can see how their cheeks are applying that pressure, that genuine, real pressure on their eyes, looking straight into each other's eyes with the same head angle. That is your first clue that they are fully in sync at that moment. I also added a small green arrow pointing at Frederick's brow because, as you can see, he's showing a lot of emotion and his brows are a bit raised in the middle. You cannot see the same in Mary, but it's just because of the angle of the camera. Faces are important, but the rest of the body speaks for itself. And I immediately noticed that Mary's grip on Frederick's hand is tighter than what's normal in a common hand holding. We already know that this was a very emotional moment for Frederick. So this could mean that Mary knows it. She knows how her husband is feeling. So she tightens the grip on his hand as a means of a very subtle emotional support. Now, we can zoom out and take a look at that brief instant before the kiss with a better understanding of what was going on. A lot of emotion in both of them, but especially in Frederick, genuine smiles, and Mary trying to comfort or support him with that tighter hand grip. Just half a second after the previous moment, we got this. Is there any change in expression? Well, yes, it's more intense than before. I'd say that it's at least 50% more intense. So the emotion is escalating as they keep staring into each other's eyes. I would not be surprised that both of them are having a silent dialogue just with their eyes, not believing what is happening right now. Now, this is when the confusing part begins, and I can understand that there are contradicting body language signals at this exact moment. It looks like Mary is leaning away from him, but in fact, she's not yet. But there's a very, very subtle body language clue that I'm sure every single one of you have missed, and it's what was Mary looking at? And you know that when you like someone, you tend to look at their mouth or even at their neck. I remember that it was something that I noticed between William and Catherine in one of my first analysis of that. Well, if you look closely in this hyper slow and hyper zoom version of the clip, you can spot for a tiny fraction of a second and right before Mary turns away from Frederick that she looks from his eyes to his mouth. She lowers her gaze for a split second and then looks away. I have included two sizes of the clip because counterintuitively, sometimes these kind of details are easier to see when you have both sizes side by side to compare. And our longtime friend, the yellow square, marks that exact moment. So there was heart in that moment. She gave him a look of love. But then, why did she snub his kiss? But the real question that we need to ask here is, did she really snub his kiss? And again, both the super slow motion and our good friend, the yellow marker, are here to set the record straight. It is quite easy to spot that when she begins to turn her head away, he hasn't even begun to get closer to her. She cannot be dodging a kiss that hasn't even started. In fact, when she begins to turn away, Frederik is not even looking at her, he's looking at the public. So the belief that Mary snubbed the first kiss from Frederik is completely debunked. Now, what was happening here instead? I'm going to tell you my theory about this gesture. Notice how, right as Mary turns away, her lips begin to move. Like she's starting to speak and telling something to Frederik. She turns away, but not from him, but turning away from the cameras because she wants to tell him something, but she doesn't want us, the body language analysts or the lip readers and such, to see what she was saying. And it makes sense because his gesture is more like, huh? And getting closer to her, offering his ear to be able to listen to what she's saying in secret. And it must be an inside joke because she bursts in laughter. Now I can imagine you saying, but Rogue, she's leaning away from him. She obviously doesn't want to be there and doesn't want him anywhere near her. Well, yes, she's leaning away from him, but have you done your full homework and spotted what's her facial expression at the same time? Yeah, she's laughing. And I don't think it's good manners to laugh right on the face of anyone. I'm sure it has happened to you that you burst into laughter while being really close to someone and you either turn at an angle or lean back away from them to avoid sprinkling them with tiny droplets of. You get the idea. I won't get into those details, which brings us to the exact instant right before the kiss in which they lock eyes again with the same intense expression. And there's also Mary's arm fully embracing Frederik's back, which, if she didn't want to be near him, would not have happened. And finally, the kiss. Oh, he's leaning in, she's straight, she doesn't love him as much, he's trying too hard, blah, blah, blah. Maybe it's just the fact that he is 10 centimeters or 4 inches taller than Mary. So, yes, this is what a normal couple with that height difference do to kiss each other. And right after the kiss, there's Frederik's and Mary's signature genuine smiles. It doesn't get any more real than this. And I wish them a wonderful reign. But my royal roguies, I would love to know what do you think about this in the comments. And remember to download my 100 body language tips right in the description of this video if you want to read anybody like a book. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the Royal Rogue. And remember the two most important words: much love and bliss.